and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rasta Report here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, and livinginblack.com. My name is Katie Uwado, aka the Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific Time, that's 12 noon Eastern Time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 7 p.m. East Africa Time. We gather together with you. And we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, and more health. All areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Tuesday, the 24th of September, 2024. In the Western calendar, this corresponds to the year 6265. In the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, and livinginblack.com. Today is the beginning of the third day of my autumn equinox detox fast. And just here making notes during the fast. We always take detailed notes so that we can keep track of what's going on, measure our progress, and really kind of reinforce ourselves on a daily basis as to just how well we're doing with our seasonal detox fast. So this morning I woke up, I added 5 more to my reps, my core reps. So the reps as of today were 160 on the cores. I weighed myself. I weighed in 145.2, which is what I weighed when I was 25 years old. So in the first 2 days, over the course of the first 2 days, my weight went from 151.2 to 145.2. So that's 6 lbs, 6 pounds. And my body mass index is perfect. Perfect lifetime body mass index, right in the middle of the green zone. Yesterday, my push-ups increased to 225. Today, I will increase them again. It'll go up to 230. So that's where we are with all of that. I hope you feel good. Today, I've got a great topic on the table for you today, for us today. We look at the collective of disorders referred to as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. In the U.S., it is listed as the 3rd leading cause of death, while globally it is variously reported as the 2nd or 3rd leading cause of mortality. What we wish to consider today is how does the pathology of COPD proceed, and which wellness inputs we can implement in order to preserve optimized lung functioning for life. If we know that the body can repair many of its organic functions, can we plan to prevent or reverse chronic lung disease? So that's what's on the table today, COPD. This is another chapter of the book that I'm writing. The book is entitled Living Superfood Solutions, Using Nutrition to Combat, or Dietary Strategies to Prevent and Reverse Common Chronic Diseases. So the book is coming along really, really well. I've still got a lot of detailed writing to do on it. I try my best to take 10 minutes at a time, 6 times, up to 6 times during the day, to put myself on track to get the book out right on its appointed date. This is going to be among the larger of the books that I've published in recent years. And it literally, I could keep going on and on and on and on, but I have picked the beginning of, the end of November to send this one to the printer. So I have about little less than, or actually just about 2 months left to complete this book. I'm right on track. And I think you all will be quite proud of the finished work. Hey, let's get into this research we have for today. As always, We welcome you, our listening audience, to be engaged. Be a part of what we do here. I am because we are. I got some great emails this morning or messages, social media messages from my brother. And let me just acknowledge him real quickly because what he's doing is really good. So, Brother Tamani Mwandani, I'm talking about you, man. And he sent out a message where he's putting together these conversations, generational conversations. And I like the themes that he's talking about, especially where they apply to how we, collective, under the Pan-African banner, do move forward as we also consolidate our history, as we also build upon the relations between our older generations and the younger generations, so that we're all in this love together, we're all in this global progress together. And the last note I said to him, I like the way that you approach these issues of sustainable and sovereign development. I do a lot of work in these areas, and I'm honored to be invited to your circle of collaboration. Have you seen my books yet? He said, much appreciated, Brother Keedy. I have, but it's been a while. Please feel free to resend it. And here, let me send him a link to my books, http://keedy.biz/CRP 2012. Let me just double confirm that. Okay. So anybody else who wants to see my books, I encourage each and every one of us to see what I do. You hear me on the airwaves quite often, but I do understand, and I hear it frequently, that many of the people who have been listening to me over the course of years or months or however long have never even seen not one of my soon-to-be 54 and 55 published books. So I'm going to do a better job of informing, inspiring, and exciting people to get into this body of literature that I've produced. So, hey, let's start by getting into today's lesson we have on the table. Again, the theme today is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and living superfood solutions. With so many benefits, mindful breathing should be one of your top wellness priorities. We know it's hard to focus on all the top priorities in your life, especially if you're struggling against a chronic disease that restricts your respiration and oxygen flow. Yet, breathing is essential for life. The benefits of optimized airflow and mindful breathing include, but are not limited to, reduced cortisol and bodily tension, enhances circulation and digestion, improves balance and self-awareness, improves mental clarity and focus, activates the lymphatic system to purge toxins and reduce anxiety, and mindful breathing facilitates calm, mindful enjoyment of the present, of the moment, living in the moment, connected directly to the past and the future. That's all the benefits of mindful breathing. Yet, mindful breathing is difficult to do. It's not impossible, but very difficult to do if we are struggling to get oxygen, which brings us to this second and third leading causes of death in the United States and in the world: chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Let's get into this topic today. First, before I go forward, hydration. This is day 3 of the 4-day, actually I'm extending this to 4-day water fast. I woke up this morning feeling so great. And my push-up session last evening was so balanced and easy that I said, let's extend 72-hour water fast to a 96-hour water fast. I'll drink to that. I'll drink again to that. I haven't hydrated yet this morning. Mm-hmm. Let's discuss. I have 16 critical concepts regarding COPD. First of all, let's define it. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is a progressive lung disease characterized by restricted airflow and breathing problems due to chronic inflammation and scarring of the airways and lung tissues. COPD encompasses two main forms: emphysema, which is damage to air sacs, and chronic bronchitis, inflammation and scarring of airway walls. So the two main functions, emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Point 2, the causes. The primary cause of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is long-term exposure to harmful substances, particularly cigarette smoke. Other contributors include particulate matter, occupational dust, and industrial chemicals, irritating gases, and other common chemical exposures. Tobacco smoking is the primary cause of COPD in high-income countries, 70% of all cases, while household air pollution and tobacco use remain major risk factors in low and middle income countries. That household air pollution is from many people cooking with charcoal. Unfortunately, that is still quite prevalent, even in the cities across Africa. I know in Kampala, when I was staying in Kampala, the compound that I was staying with, the women cooked using charcoal pot. They buy big, huge bags of charcoal when traveling outside the city or even a rail around the city, but then cook using this charcoal in a little hut outside the main building. And I would walk into the hut from time to time. I'd love cooking and I love participating, but I couldn't stay inside the little hut because the air was just full of this acrid black smoke from the charcoal. That combines with tobacco to be the major risk factors for developing chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in low and middle income countries. So we can do better than that, but we're going to have to plan for it. There are some organizations that are replacing these charcoal pot cooking methodologies with gas mechanisms. When I was in Uganda, I had planned on buying a gas stove for the compound that I was at, but that plan was thrown off temporarily by my contracting malaria and having to deal with that crisis, and that was quite a crisis. It put me in I put myself in the hospital. The family insisted I put myself in the hospital, and that used up all the money that I was going to use to buy a gas stove and a gas tank to go with it. And then after I returned, the primary motivation for me being there ended, and so that never was accomplished. Yet then again, going back to Kenya, Uganda, going forward to other East African countries, Ethiopia would be another one. The idea of us transferring simple technology for cooking would be a very, very good strategic plan. We can do this. We should do this. Number 3 on this list of 16 key factors regarding COPD, symptoms. Common symptoms include chronic cough, wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, excessive mucus formation, and blue-tinged lips or fingernail beds. That's called cyanosis. So these are the common symptoms that one is going to display when dealing with the earlier stages or advanced stages of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Number 4, diagnosis. COPD is diagnosed through a combination of medical history, physical examination, and pulmonary function tests, such as spirometry, which is lung function tests, which measures lung capacity and air flow. So the diagnostics for COPD are not intrusive. They don't have to take a biopsy. They don't have to draw blood. So those of us who might be experiencing these symptoms, chronic cough, wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, excessive mucus, and blue tinged lips or fingernail beds, if we're experiencing those symptoms, don't be afraid to go and have a diagnosis to see if it is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Let's talk about the 4 various stages of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. COPD is classified into 4 stages based on severity, lung function, and symptoms. These 4 stages range from mild, stage 1, to moderate, severe, and very severe, or stage 4 COPD, using the Global Initiative for Chronic Obstructive Lung Disease GOLD criteria. The progression of COPD varies, but early diagnosis and proper management are shown to improve quality of life and slow the disease progression. We are today talking about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Would love to hear what you, our listening audience, have to contribute to today's program. Hopefully we got a nice size audience. I do see Tunk from Snake Creek is in the house. Tunk says, Africa rising, we got next. Africa rising, we got next. That's right, that's right, that's right. We got next. Tunk, I don't know if you have my text number or so. I know that I know who you are, but this is this is a new name that I know you by. But as much insight as you share, it seems to be obvious that you and I are well acquainted with each other. So Tunk from Snake Creek, hey, much power to us. Africa rising, we got next. I totally and completely agree with that. Here we go. We are going through 16 key points relative to COPD. We are up to number 6, exacerbations. Patients with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease may experience acute worsening of symptoms, often triggered by infections or environmental triggers. Chronic obstruction can lead to respiratory failure, cor pulmonale, C-O-R, pulmonale, which is, I think that's Latin for right-sided heart failure, and increased risk of pneumonia and lung cancer. So really, these exacerbations can really be quite disruptive, quite disturbing. And obviously, treating this, diagnosing this early and treating it aggressively and successfully is in our best self-interest. Number 7 on our list of 16, medical management. While there is no reported cure, quote unquote, for COPD, and let me put that cure in quotes, because the medical establishment has decided it has dominion over that word cure, and that is why many natural health practitioners who are actually able to help people relieve permanently these disease diagnoses, using the word cure is problematic because it can often lead to persecution, prosecution, penalization and or litigation from a spectrum of different parties. We recall the case of Dr. Sebi running an ad in the New York newspaper talking about his clinic cured AIDS. And this was back in the 1990s, for which the law came down on Dr. Sebi, and he ended up having to prove his case in the New York State. I think it all went all the way to the New York State Supreme Court, or it might have been a district court. I think it was a district court. Some people said Supreme Court, and that was just not true. But he proved his case by calling in some 28 or 29 different witnesses who testified to the jury firsthand of what the Sebi methodology did for them. So enough respect to Dr. Sebi for being as bold and as precise as he had been. He is now in the realm of the ancestors, and we give praise, thanks, and praise to his immortal name. While there is no reported cure for COPD, strategies to manage symptoms and slow disease progression, slow or halt disease progression, and again, or halt, I'm still writing the book in progress, include lifestyle changes, smoking cessation, quit smoking, include bronchodilators, corticosteroids, phosphodiesterase 4 inhibitors, and that phosphodiesterase is an enzyme, so enzyme inhibitors, pulmonary rehabilitation, and antibiotics to treat underlying acute infections. For advanced chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, oxygen therapy can help maintain adequate oxygen levels in the blood. In severe cases, radical options such as lung volume reduction surgery or lung transplantation may be considered. And of course, people, you do not want to get to the stage of degeneration and decline that they got to start cutting up your body parts. In severe cases, I'm saying to you, our listening audience, prevention is always optimal. We're showing you these lifestyle changes, which is next on my list. Number 8, lifestyle changes. Those diagnosed with COPD are encouraged to adopt healthy lifestyle changes. These include regular exercise, a nutritionally balanced diet, avoiding inhaled chemical irritants, avoiding tobacco smoking and secondhand smoke, and reducing exposure to air pollution. These are essential for managing COPD and for reducing exposure to air pollution, including indoor pollution, which can be averted using a high quality HEPA 3 air filter. Yes, that's true. These are all essential for avoiding or managing COPD. Going forward, we're up to number 9. Now, I began today's inquiry. I didn't begin it because I'd actually been writing on this and working on this already. But for today's program, I wanted to fill up my plate. And so I used my 3 AI search engines, Copilot, Ecosia, and Brave. And the inquiry I asked today, let me see if I can see that inquiry. It should show up when I go back to this. The inquiry I ask for today: share 15 key concepts regarding chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And so that was where I began today's discussion, using these three different, and then I put them all in one document and I combined them. So using the best one as a model, I then went to two other ones and copy, cut, and paste, and then I combined where I saw the similar themes. I combined them and then made one cohesive narrative out of each one. So doing all of that, sometimes these AI search engines will give me stuff that I have no interest in, such as number 9, vaccinations. While vaccinations are recommended to prevent respiratory infections, my research has frequently linked these artificial procedures as connected to a wide spectrum of man-made diseases and disorders. What are, and this is a question that you should know this question, people. Everyone out there should know this question, especially parents of children. You should know this basic question and the answers to this basic question. Please, what are the 3 basic components of vaccines? I'm going to copy the question and part of the response to the question, but I'm going to give you a more detailed response right here. But everyone out there needs to know this question. What are the 3 basic components of vaccines? Let me give that to you right now. You ready? You ready for this? We're ready for this. You ready? Yeah, we're ready. You ready? Yeah, man, we said we're ready. Okay, I'm just testing you. I'm just actually just delaying a little bit while I put this up. This question is key. And the answer, I gave you the short answer, but you need to know the long answer to this question. So, bear with me here. Mute that microphone and go down here. And where we is, I need to chat. Pushed up this question. Here is the question. What are the 3 basic components of vaccines? Number 1, the pathogen. Number 2, the culture medium. And number 3, the stabilizing agents. Those are the 3 basic components of vaccines. Now, because I'm broadcasting on YouTube today, I'm going to have to tone it down a little bit. But when we look at the pathogen, undeniably, the pathogen is dangerous because that's what the vaccine is intended to avert, prevent, and or mitigate. So the pathogen or components of the vaccine, the components of the pathogen, such as antigens, will be included in the vaccine. We all acknowledge, everyone from every side acknowledges those are dangerous. To serve the vaccination to many, many, many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, the pathogen must be grown to a sufficient mass. To do that, they use what is called culture medium. Culture medium includes, this is all verifiable, DNA material, genetic material from 11 different species, including, but not limited to, dog, monkey, cat, cow, chicken, duck, rabbit, mice, and others, including human diploid cells. Human diploid cells are extracted from the matter, the mass of aborted fetuses, human diploid cells. So these are included in the culture medium. And the last component, once you're growing this pathogen in this putrid mix of DNA material, It grows and it grows and grows. Obviously, you cannot put that in your body. That is biological warfare. So therefore, in order to put this into a syringe and give it to people, they have to stabilize this thing. And in the stabilizing agents, there's a long, long list of antibiotics. Stabilizing agents include formaldehyde, which is used to stabilize dead people, keep them from jumping up in the middle of a funeral. Thimerosal, which is a mercury derivative. Oh, there's some real nasty ones. Aluminum adjuvants. So these stabilizing agents supposedly kill or stabilize or deactivate, or in some cases bulk up the putrid mix that had to be deactivated, that had to be stabilized. Now, here's the thing that I'm saying. It's number one, the pathogens. Number two, the culture medium. Number three, stabilizing agents. Number one would hurt you, could kill you. Number two, you don't want to put DNA from 11 different species into your blood. Or maybe the same species but from someone's aborted fetus. You don't want to put that in your blood. Number three is the presence of the stabilizing agents. If you put the stabilizing agents on their own into someone's blood, chances are they're going to make that person very sick, could even kill them. So if I hit you in the head with a hammer, if I stab you in the back with a knife, if I shoot you in the belly with a pistol, any one of those three could cause severe damage, morbidity or mortality to your body. But according to this theory of the V word, if I combine all three of them together in one load, it's going to be good for you. Let's move on. I probably disqualified this video from YouTube today because that's the way they are. They're looking for just keywords. But we're not fearless. That's why I'm very cautious about putting anything up on YouTube. In fact, probably what I'll do is at the end of today's program, I'll delete it myself. Beat them to the punch. So if you're on the YouTube today, drop a message. Let me know you're listening. Otherwise, don't expect this file to be staying up there for any length of time, because quite simply, YouTube is increasing its level of restriction, censoring, and preventing free speech. Going forward, we are talking about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. We're up to number 10 of our 16 key elements of this discussion, comorbidities. You probably heard this word comorbidities come up quite a bit with the pandemic, that the people diagnosed with and dying from the pandemic had a long spectrum of comorbidities. By the time I finished tallying them up, there were 29 comorbidities associated with the death from 29 of them. Well, in this case, comorbidities often exist with other health conditions such as chronic cardiovascular disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, anxiety or depression, and others including asthma, severe allergies, bronchitis. So comorbidities are a hallmark of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Obviously, getting rid of, preventing, mitigating these comorbidities improves your chance of not having your life and your healthy lifespan impacted by chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Please, people, I talk to people quite frequently, and they say, well, I need help. That's why I'm calling you. And during the consultation, I ask them about everything going on with the body. Sometimes it takes like 15 minutes into the conversation before they tell me everything that's going on. These comorbidities, many of them metabolic disorders. I would suggest that chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is undeniably impacted by metabolic syndrome disorders such as overweight, obesity, visceral adiposity, hyperglycemia, hypertension. So we can do better than that. Number 11 on our list of 16, the impact on quality of life. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease can significantly affect a person's life, limiting physical activities and leading to social isolation and physiological issues. Supplemental oxygen may be prescribed for patients with low blood oxygen levels. With appropriate treatment and healthy lifestyle modifications, patients can halt or slow disease progression and improve their quality of life. I couldn't imagine any life, and I know people with COPD have to restrict their exercise. I couldn't imagine any quality of life with excluding exercise. And by not having exercise as a regular function for up to 4.5 hours of daily physical activity, including exercise, adds, I think, 1.5 to 2 or more years of life years gained. But if you can't breathe, if you can't exchange oxygen, you can't not do cardiovascular exercise. So people, prevention is a must. Absolutely. We're up to number 13, pulmonary rehabilitation. This is a structured program that includes exercise training, education, and support to improve the physical and emotional well-being of individuals with COPD. A comprehensive program includes exercise, education, and support to improve lung function and overall health. Bear with me here. Regular follow-up with wellness providers is crucial for optimizing lung function and adjusting treatment strategies as is needed. Very important. Pulmonary rehabilitation. I did put out the book Miracle on 2 Feet. The subtitle of the book tells it all. Prevention and recovery from stroke. Well, in this case of today's conversation with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, prevention and recovery is the highest priority. Highest priority. Number 15 on my list. Oh, I skipped number 14. I'll have to go back and look at my original notes, make sure I have everything together. So number 14 on my list is global impact. I think I probably took number 14 and combined it with something else. Global impact. COPD is a leading cause of death worldwide. Again, at the beginning we talked about it is reported in various online reports as either the second or third leading cause of death after cardiovascular disease. Would be, if it's second, it would be COPD. If it's third, it would be cancer. It's a leading cause of death worldwide with significant impacts on healthcare systems, economies, and significant impact on family economics or household economics. And bear with me, push that in the wrong paragraph. On impacts on household economics, healthcare systems, and economics. Yes, including national economies. And number 15 on my list of key principles, key factors of comprehension of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Number 15, taking us forward. Research and awareness. Ongoing research aims to better understand COPD and develop new and more effective treatments. While raising awareness about prevention and early detection is vital for improving outcomes, improving diagnostic accuracy, and improved comprehension of the underlying mechanisms of COPD pathogenesis. The spectrum of alternative medical practices is becoming more attractive to those reluctant to standard medical treatments. So people are turning to supplementation, to herbal medicine. They are turning to things like acupuncture. They are turning to things like, for dealing with the affections, hyperthermia could be very useful. As so you know, I'm always going to be advocating for clinical nutrition as a alternative to standard Western medical treatments, drugs, and surgery. So there are alternatives. There is a different pathway that we can take as individuals, or better yet, that we can take as collectives that allow us to look into different factors as we are dealing with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And here we have a little bit more time. I just want to go to some of these references and points that we could use for today's. I'm just doing a little quick search for some references. One of the things we could talk about, and I did mention it briefly, about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and comorbidities, one of which is asthma. A common condition in which your airways narrow and swell, producing extra mucus. This can make breathing difficult and trigger coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath. Asthma is an autoimmune disorder. There's also pulmonary fibrosis, a condition where lung tissue becomes damaged and scarred, leading to serious breathing problems. And bronchiectasis, a condition where the bronchial tubes of your lungs are permanently damaged, widened, and thickened, leading to frequent infections and blockages of the airwaves. So when we're talking about comorbidities, let me go back up into my list. I want to add what I just found. Comorbidities. Where's the word? Comorbidities. Here we go. And I'm going to just punch this in so that is attached. We have, again, asthma. We have pulmonary fibrosis. Oops, don't do that. We have pulmonary fibrosis and bronchiectasis. Now, here's what I want to do. Watch this. I'm going to go and find these references to this, and we're going to just share some of the research that's out there. Let's look at these three. Tell me more about pulmonary Tell me more about pulmonary fibrosis. And I was hoping it was going to take me to a reference. Pulmonary fibrosis is a serious lung disease characterized by the scarring and thickening of lung tissues, which makes it difficult for the lungs to function properly. Key points to consider: idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which the cause is unknown. That's the word idiopathic. Idio meaning idiot or unknown, pathic meaning injury. There are environmental and occupational exposures, pollutants, silica dust, asbestos fibers, and hard metal dust. Those are very important. I could add those to my list of causes of this condition. And going back to my list, causes, let me add this to that list. Let me undo that and put this here. And they talk about radiation therapy can be a cause of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease used to treat cancers, particularly in the chest area. Radiation therapy, medications, certain drugs, including chemotherapy drugs, antibiotics, and heart medications, as well as medical conditions. Autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, and lupus can all be causes of pulmonary fibrosis. So this is all very important information. I'm going to kind of hold it right here because I've kind of sent myself into a new phase of doing the research. And I think I may have included enough for today's class. We are creating the chapters for the book. The book is entitled Living Superfood Solutions. And it is all about using dietary processes and practices for chronic disease diagnoses. So on that note, I hope you have enjoyed today's conversation. I do see Tunk from Snake Creek in the house. Baba Keedy, thank you for all you do. This is great information our people need to hear. I thank you so much. I hope everybody out there hit the like button. And I do agree. If this is the third leading cause of death in the U.S. and second leading cause of death in the world, then obviously everyone needs to hear this. People need to understand. Young people need to understand. And they need to be given a graphic comprehension and image of an elderly person in a wheelchair hooked up to a bottle of oxygen. Their skin is impacted by the years of smoking cigarettes. I was in gas station yesterday and I went inside to pay for the gas in cash. And I want to thank you, Brother Minister Zumbi, who ordered some books. I threw in an extra book that I think you will really enjoy. But he also put cash in and mailed it in. So enough respect to Minister Zumbi. So I went to pay for it with cash to save a couple of pennies. You know how we are. And I looked and it appeared to me, somebody help me out, that a pack of cigarettes is over $9 to buy a pack of cigs, a pack of fags, over $9 to purchase. That's shocking. And young people, teenagers, are spending $10. So the Marlboros were on the shelf at $10, I think 75 cents, and then you got to pay taxes on that. People are paying this much for cigarettes? That is shocking. Grocery stores sell cigarettes. I don't know if they're being sold in the neighborhood pharmacy stores. Cigarettes are not something I normally look for. But what in that nasty, filthy habit could possibly be worth enough money for a pretty healthy meal, especially if you prepare it yourself. I don't understand people. But we do understand that people get caught up in things that they don't understand, and by the time they start to realize this is a bad habit, they're already addicted. And that's what cigarettes are. They intend to get children addicted to cigarettes with the intention that they will stay addicted to cigarettes. Tunk from Snake Creek says, yes, sir. $9 plus. I see that too. That's shocking. To me, that is really shocking. I saw that too. So thank you, Tunk from Snake Creek. Your wisdom, your contribution, your collaboration, cooperation, your attitude is so greatly appreciated. Ubuntu, my brother. I am because we are. We are an extension. We have fingers on the same hand, and that hand is connected to the other hand by our body, which is our people. And fingers on the same hands, collaborating, cooperating, working together, create miracles. That's the source of miracles. We create miracles with our fingers, with our hands, with our body, with our community, our larger body, the family of humanity. That's who we are. That's what we do. And we've got a lot of work. Last point I want to make. It's very disturbing to see the progress of the clash of civilizations taking place in the world. Israel now extending the anti-Islamic war once again into Lebanon. Lebanon has been the target of the global Western campaign against Islam since before the early 80s. The targeting of Lebanon, an Islamic country, the targeting of Palestine and Islamic people, the targeting of Syria, Iraq, Iran, Jordan, Pakistan, Libya, Sudan, Mali, Chad, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mauritania. The global war against Islam, in my upcoming book, is listed as World War IV, not World War III. Anybody who's saying we're afraid of World War III are so far behind true analysis that they're either just poorly informed or they're just liars supporting a false narrative of history. But the ongoing, evolving progress of World War IV, as it expands and starts to more and more overlap World Wars III and VI, which is Ukraine. Ukraine-Russia conflict is an extension of the so-called Cold War, which got hot in over 20 countries around the world, from Korea to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, to Nicaragua, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, to Ethiopia, Somalia, the Congo, South Africa, Angola, Mozambique. That was the Cold War. The Ukraine-Russia conflict that war is still lingering. As we are seeing World War V intensifying every day, at least 2-3 times a week, we see the intensification of World War V, which is globalization against everybody. and World War VI, which is the new conflagration of the Western society countries versus the BRICS Plus collective, and that keeps intensifying on a regular basis. Because we see all of this happening, we have got to be critically concerned. We've got to be critically concerned about protecting ourselves and our families. That's what my upcoming book will be sharing. The book is entitled Disaster Preparedness for World Wars V and VI. We got to collaborate. We got to cooperate. We've got to get together. We're not going to survive World Wars V and VI as individuals. No, that is not going to happen. That makes it much easier to pick us all off and reduce the planetary population by as many as 5 billion people wiped out in order to satisfy the greedy, gluttonous visions of the ones who have too much but want everything else. We're going to have to collaborate. We're going to have to cooperate. We're going to have to learn more, do more, study more. I want your support. Some people have been supporting. They go to Amazon, where you put in my name under books, and you'll see I have 40 or more than 40 books there listed. You also are going to my website, keidi.biz, where you'll see I have nearly 50 books listed. And then the new books are coming out. You've seen the cover with today's promo of the next book, the one I'm working on now, Living Superfood Solutions. But I want to show you the cover, if you don't mind. Let me show the covers of Disaster Preparedness. And let me just minimize that. Present, share screen. And this is what the cover of Disaster Preparedness looks like. You tell me, does this look like it could capture your attention? Disaster Preparedness for World Wars V and VI, the untold story of how the global economic and security order is shaping up for the 21st century. World War V is the billionaire corporations and their structured organization versus all of us, especially the working class, the workers' middle class. That's the way I term it. The workers' middle class. The billionaires versus the workers' middle class. And World War VI, NATO versus BRICS. It's not too late to prevent these. Yet the momentum is horrifically on the side of increasing saber rattling and conflict. They're now talking about going nuclear. I was so stressed out about this yesterday that I pulled up a film. I found it on YouTube. The film called The Day After from 1983, starred Jason Robards and a number of other significant actors. The Day After depicts a conflict, which this is during the era of the Soviet Union and before the reunification of Germany. But this, The Day After, depicts on one hand common slices of family life. I think it was based in Kansas City. So you'd see young couples in love. You'd see family farms and farmers. You'd see the simple little challenges and issues and problems that we go through that just constitutes living. Juxtapose a crisis on the German border. And for some odd reason, which they didn't explain, which is par for the course of media, for some odd reason there was a clash on the border of East and West Germany, for which the Russians then penetrated into West Berlin, West Germany, and then the fighting started. and very quickly escalated to tactical nuclear weapons. And according to that movie, The Day After, which to me came off as an anti-nuclear war, anti-nuclear arming um, docudrama, but it showed just how quickly it escalated from tactical nuclear weapons, which are being threatened as we speak today in the year, Western calendar year 2024, that use of tactical battlefield nuclear weapons quickly escalated within 24 hours to global strategic nuclear missiles being fired from across North America towards Russia and across southern Russia towards the United States and other Western powers, especially those NATO countries that have U.S. nuclear missiles stored on their territories. In the movie The Day After, England is not spared, or Great Britain is not spared. France is not spared. Germany is not spared. Turkey, which at the time had nuclear weapons pointed at Russia, was not spared. The whole world received thousands of nuclear bombs in a couple of days. I didn't finish watching the movie. It was very, very late at night, and I said, hey, gotta sleep. But I encourage each of us to look for the movie. The movie is is entitled The Day After. Let me see if I can find that real quickly. In fact, I'm not even going to worry about that right now. Movie, The Day After Nuclear. So I'm finding that on YouTube, The Day After from 1983. And it's really quite shocking. The movie is a little over 2 hours long. And it talks about nuclear war. So we can do better than that, people. Humanity can do better than that. Check out the movie The Day After. And we're going to maybe do a better job of relating to each other as people on this planet. Stop allowing these politicians, these fraudulent, lying, decrepit politicians of the billionaire class, stop allowing them to demonize whole peoples that we don't even know much about, anything at all about. That some of us who do study culture and sociology and anthropology realize, you know something? We're one species, one race on planet Earth. And because of the low level of morality exhibited by a fairly narrow class of dominant hierarchical personalities, because of their low morality, and I'm talking about the Democratic candidate, the Republican candidate, because of their low morality, they are condemning not just us who would be led by them, governed by them, but they're condemning the whole planet, all the babies. Right now, Israel is running amok. And Israel, we're reminded, is armed with a minimum of 200 nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons. And Israel is just running amok. What if Pakistan ran amok like that? They're armed with nuclear weapons. What if India ran amok? What if North Korea ran amok like that? Well, we're getting that close. What if Iran succeeds at deploying and testing a nuclear weapon? What if Brazil decides to arm itself with nuclear weapons? We're going to have to take responsibility for our stewardship of this beautiful water-covered pearl of a planet that we know as Mother Earth. We began with the man, the woman in the mirror, asking us to change our ways. I'm going to take proper stewardship of my body, my physical temple, my structure. Towards that, the same true with the family, with the community, with our relationships with our peers, co-workers, friends, and family. We're going to take stewardship of the environment, and we're going to do a better job of raising a better planet that we're going to pass on to children, to grandchildren, to great-grandchildren, to future generations in perpetuity. We cannot and we will not tolerate nuclear saber rattling. I'm not going to be voting for these presidential candidates. No. They're both the same representation of the same moral discrepancy. Many of you will be voting, and you'll be voting for whatever reasons you deem to be the most important reasons. But always keep in mind, we have to ask and answer the question, what kind of a world are we giving to our children and to future generations? On that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in today, as you do so regularly, so reliably. Tunk from Snake Creek, you know you are appreciated. I feel your presence in the house always, always, always. You make yourself known, as you make yourself welcome. To those of you who silently sit on the side, can we at least get you to hit the like button? Let the algorithms know that yes, you are informed, you are entertained, that you are part of the solution and not merely part of the myriad of problems that are hurting us all, directly or indirectly. We can do better than that. We wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and ask that person looking back at you, what can I do? What can we do together, collaborating, cooperating? That's good for life, that's good for the planet, that makes our presence amongst our fellow humans a benevolent presence, a loving presence. And that's why you tune in to your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIV Radio. We are LIV TV. We are livinginblack.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.